I thought I'd show you a few of my favourite things in the garden at this time of year. And of course, because we've had so much rain, the growth has been absolutely phenomenal. This lovely yellow thing here is the Homskoldia, and what you're looking at primarily is not the flowers as such, but the bracts that surround the tiny flowers in the centre. It's often called the Chinese hat plant. The bracts look like a little bit like a satellite dish to me, but I love the way it has these arching sprays. It's really, really drought tolerant and so easy to grow. You can go from cuttings quite easily, or sometimes you can layer a branch down to the ground. And next to that, there's no secret that in my garden I'm really fond of mauve colours, and so the pennisetums are looking fabulous at the moment. I really like the tall ones myself. You can get shorter varieties, and of course when the flowers are all finished I'll cut these right down to ground level, and so I probably do that at least twice a year to get all this lovely new growth coming away. And the great thing about this one of course is that it's a sterile variety, so it doesn't seed everywhere, and again you can grow it quite easily by dividing clumps, or sometimes you'll get self-layered branches as well. And just on the other side of this, if I move around, you'll see that, of course, we all know that the pennisetum, the xanthostemons are in flower, and I've got a few of the different dwarf varieties, but I've also grown the straight species, which is what you'll get from in tubes from native plant sellers. And the true native form gets very, very tall and takes quite a while to flower, but of course these more familiar cultivars stay quite compact and flower at a relatively young age. And once this is done, I'll give this another haircut, and that'll also help to keep it smaller, and you can get really great flowering if you trim them each year. Of course, the salvias have been looking absolutely spectacular, and while some of them are starting to go off now, I try to prune them progressively so that I don't lose all of the colour and all the insect food at once. And you'll find them really, really tough. I love the combination again of the purple with the grey, so that's just the curry plant there. Of course, this is the one that's ornamental, it's not the true curry tree, which you use in cooking. And over the back some ixoras there in that yellow, sort of creamy yellow, and again yellow again with those golden candles. And the bougainvillea, the white bougainvillea Penelope, is just starting to shoot lots of new growth, and of course it's on the new growth that you get all the flowers and bracts forming on your bougainvillea. So basil of any type is really terrific to have in the garden. You can see the bees and butterflies and little things just absolutely going berserk, and that's the wattlebirds screeching in the background if you can hear them. And that tall thing growing way at the back there, of course, is cosmos. It self-seeds around the garden. I pull them out when there's too many, but long flowering, really bright colour, and again the pennisetums in the background, that contrast of the purple. I tend to limit the range of things that I grow in terms of ornamentals, because I just go with things that work in the garden rather than necessarily concentrating on too much diversity. I want things that cope with both the wet and the dry. So continuing down the western side, the frangipanis are really starting to drop all of their leaves, and again more ixoras, some more succulent things, some of which are starting to fall over because they've had too much rain, but ending up with some salvias down the end there. And the white shrub there is the Tabamontana or mock gardenia. It's lovely at this time of year, flowers for a really long time, but then it's deciduous in the cooler months of the year, particularly when it's dry, but it comes away again. It's really, really hardy, leading down to things like the bananas in the background there, which have just absolutely loved the rain. It's amazing how they've come on. And of course you can also see perhaps the citrus, particularly the lemons there, lots of lemon. That's actually in a container, so it's actually in a raised garden within the bed itself. But it looks like we're going to have a good harvest this year. The poor citrus is just absolutely laden, so I think I'm going to have to get a prop for this orange. I think also what's happened is a possum jumped down from the roof onto the branches, and so it's really drooping so much more than it was yesterday. So I think the possums have been bouncing on the branches overnight. So that's my next job, get a prop to actually support that branch before it breaks. Bullaria is a really old-fashioned plant, but it just performs so well in the garden. Flowers for quite a long period of time, but then I'll chop it right back almost to ground level, maybe about 30 centimetres high. We'll put lots of new growth and then the flowers will come away again. So fabulous looking thing, and it just gives you so much colour and interest in the garden for really very little time and effort. When it comes to ferns, some of them are quite hardy, so I've got some natives and also some exotic ferns just in an old wheelbarrow here. Bird's nest ferns are really tough too. As long as you give them a little bit of shade, they do quite well and they cope with dry conditions. And again, that green, that paler green, contrasting against those purple tones of the Tenanthes. I really like that combination. So again, not huge variety in the garden, but the colour combinations that I like. So sweet potatoes can be productive, but if you want a quick ground cover, that will smother out the weeds and also give you a bit of interest. I love the leaf of this particular one, and they grow easily from cutting, so sweet potatoes, and contrasting in the back there, that green and yellow foliage is just a coleus, and again, really tough plant, so think of them if you've got a little bit of shade in the garden and you're trying to add a bit of interest. This is a different sweet potato, again the same sort of theme, something to keep the weeds down, and planted here with this purple form of pseudonanthinum.